The opinions expressed on this program are those of the program host and guest and are not necessarily those of this station, management, staff, and sponsors. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time now for the Crown Car Care Show. Call in with questions and comments, 220-9788, 220-WSTU. Now, here's your host.
Go ahead, Todd.
It's June 18th.
Mm-hmm. It is.
It's almost the 4th of July. And I can remember just weeks ago or maybe a month ago, Frank, you and I were talking about how summer was coming quick. Well, it's here.
Yeah. Yes, we've made it.
You'll never guess, Frank, where I'm at.
You were in cooler country. Maybe I'm guessing a little more mountainous.
I am at the top of a mountain right now in Highlands, North Carolina,
Nice.
which is like north, maybe, I think about 50 miles north of the Georgia border.
All right. Nice.
About 4,000 feet up in the air.
Nice.
And I know back down at the world headquarters, we're basically at 0 feet.
Yeah.
So I'm looking out over everybody, including the listening audience.
Yes, you are. You're in the high tops. Yep. Highlands. Thus the name Highlands, right?
Highlands, yeah.
Yes.
It's been around for a while. This place has been here since the late 1800s.
Wow.
Fabulous place. Small town. Quite a few local residents. A big tourist area, but more quiet, subdued, green, cool, 75 degrees.
Nice.
Usually rains a little bit each day. I'm looking out over my window where I'm staying, and I'm looking at the steeple of a Methodist church. Quite a few churches here. In fact, the day that we arrived here in Highlands, they were having their, I think, 18th annual motoring festival of vehicles and cars. They had a huge car show here when we just arrived.
Wow.
Cars everywhere.
Nice.
We had just caught the tail end of it, and it was quite nice. I've been here, I think we've been here 7 or 8 times.
Wow.
And one of the times several visits ago, we did get to see the car show, and it was spectacular because I got to see vehicles and meet people that I've never seen before. That was really nice.
Yes. Yeah, it's always good. Yes. And expand your horizons and get other people's thoughts about different things.
Now, the other thing I was going to tell everybody is don't let your vacation start on the side of a road. Oh, can you imagine you're getting ready to go on vacation? Most people drive, usually when they go on a family vacation.
Sure.
I would say probably over half.
Yeah.
People get into their, I think they call it a family truckster, don't they?
Could be.
Is that the family station, family truckster? I think that's what they called it in Vacation, a movie with Chevy Chase. I think it was called a family truckster.
Yeah, okay.
Everyone remember that movie?
Yes, that was a family station wagon. Yes.
Yeah, and I think they brought their grandmother with them.
They did.
And she ended up on the roof of the car in a rocking chair.
Imogen Coca.
The roof. Yeah, they tied her up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they forgot to untie the dog at one stop.
Don't you?
So if you're bringing your dog on vacation,
yes,
don't forget to untie your dog before you leave to go onward.
Yes, or at least count heads and all heads, canines
including
as well
dogs.
As yes,
guinea pigs, hamsters, and lizards and snakes, whatever else you bring on you on vacation.
Exactly right.
But most important,
yes.
Here's what's most important, Frank, when you go on vacation: get your vehicle looked at. Really scrutinize your vehicle like you've never scrutinized it. Look at the tires. Drive it with open ears and open eyes, maybe a week before, 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before your vacation, and really pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
You and I know that your car usually talks to you well before the car brakes.
It does. It's amazing.
It does. It does. It does.
You have to read the warning signs.
On this show, we're going to talk about a few things that you really should do before you go on vacation. One is obviously you want to check all your fluids, and we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about tires. We'll talk about battery. And then we're going to talk about air conditioning.
Yes.
Because air conditioning is so important. Now, when I was growing up as a boy, 2 of our cars didn't have air conditioning, Frank. We didn't even have it. Didn't have it.
No, our family trip in 1965 to Miami. So we are a family of 6 in a 1965 brand new fire engine red Ford station wagon, and no air conditioning. We drove to Miami in July, and we didn't think
how did you manage?
We didn't think anything of it. We didn't know any other way.
And that was the same with me.
Yeah.
We rolled the windows down, caught the fresh air. In fact, when we went on vacation, I was always sitting in the back of the Ford station where it had that seat that folded down in the tailgate.
Yeah.
And you were looking the other way. You usually were looking backwards.
Yeah.
And we would see the cars coming up behind us. And whenever we went into the gas station, when they would fill it up with ethyl, you could smell the fuel because the windows were down.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And that was full service.
It was. Yep. I know.
For the people out there that don't know full service is, back in the day, when you would pull into a service station, an attendant would come out, usually dressed in a uniform and a hat,
right?
Usually of the brand of the fuel, like Amoco or Standard or Unical. And they would come out and say, "How can I help you?" And of course, the driver, which would be your father or mother or older sister or brother, would say, usually, fill it up with regular, or fill it up with ethyl. And back in those days, I think everyone filled it up.
They
did. An interesting observation that a lot of times today I see people don't quite fill up their cars. It's because fuel is so expensive.
Yeah, big difference.
Back when I was a boy, we always filled it up.
Sure. Yeah.
And it was cheap. A couple of dollars, you could fill the car up.
Darn near.
Can you imagine? I think a couple of dollars, Frank, won't even buy you a gallon of gas, will it today?
No, not today. It went up. It's $3.20 around town right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I will tell you, we started our vacation on Friday of last week, and we drove up through Georgia, and we stopped at a place that not many people have heard of or stopped, and it's going to be one of the topics I do talk about here right now. We stopped at a place called Callaway Gardens. Callaway Gardens. And my tip for all the families out there listening, getting ready to take a vacation, stop at places that are off the beaten path.
Yes.
Stop at places that have a little bit of education behind them. And I can assure you that a year from now, when you talk about your vacation, the most talked about topic will be those places that nobody else goes to, that maybe you caught a little learning experience from, maybe learned about the land or the geographic area, or maybe you learned about the spot that you went to. In fact, the spot that I'm talking about, Callaway Gardens, is a famous garden lake area that is now a resort that has a butterfly garden inside this gigantic building.
Nice.
And you can walk inside there and you can see monarch butterflies and swallowtails and Goliath moths flying around right around your eye level. You can almost touch them if you wanted to. You could touch them if you wanted to, but you don't, because you don't want to injure them.
No.
But there's hundreds of them, thousands of them in this gigantic room that's like a terrarium, or almost it's like a greenhouse, basically.
Sure.
And that was only one of several things that you could do here. We rented a golf cart. We got to drive around nature. And you know what, Frank, we saw at night?
What's that?
And I don't know if our listeners have ever seen these before, and I know you have. We saw fireflies or lightning bugs.
Just going to say that. We used to put them in glass jars. That was so much fun.
Yes. I will tell you, if you ever touch a firefly, they smell, there's like a residue that ends up on your hand. They smell just like those love bugs do that get on the front of your car. I bet they're related.
They could very well be.
It's that same odor, that strong, pungent smell. We didn't hit any love bugs, but we sure hit the fireflies. And it was neat. My 2 kids had never seen them before.
No, isn't that cool?
And there was hundreds of them.
And this is exactly the right time of year for that. Yes.
Yep. And this was at Callaway Gardens.
Nice.
In northern Georgia. So it would be Callaway Gardens is southwest of Atlanta. Not that expensive to go there. They have a hotel there. They've got cabins you can rent. In fact, you can even stay off site if you wanted to stay just a regular motel, and then visit the place during the day. There's a lake you can go swimming at. There's a golf course. You can go fishing for bass.
Nice.
They have little electric boats that you can rent. And I'm going to tell you, it is just so much fun. And most people have never even heard of the place.
No.
And that's the thing.
Right. And you would lose all that opportunity to see all those sights and do all those cool things if you're in the shop because your car decided it was not happy.
Right. And as you know, Crown Car Care, 2 locations. We have one in Palm City. And we have one in Stewart. Been around a long time, Frank. We've been around quite a few years. And we're here at your call to look at your vehicle before you go on vacation.
Yeah.
We want to help you. We'll do an oil change on your car. We'll do a look over. In fact, that's a good way to introduce your car to us. Come in for an oil change.
Yeah.
Because when you come in for an oil change, we'll look at everything. We'll do a multi-point inspection. We'll do a safety inspection. And if you ask, we'll do a vacation inspection. We'll check everything. The vacation inspection, that's a little bit more detailed. We want to make sure you have coolers filled with snacks. And in fact, bring your coolers filled with snacks when you come to Crown Car Care. That way you can give them to our technicians and we'll test them out.
That's perfect. Make sure everything works. Absolutely.
We got to make sure all those snacks are good.
Yes.
And the drinks are cold.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you come in with drinks and snacks, we'll roll out the red carpet.
You betcha.
Not that we don't anyway, but boy, if you bring in drinks and snacks that you're going to bring on your vacation, we'll welcome you.
Anything with sugary products always gets everybody's
happy. In fact, no appointment needed. Just stop by.
Roll in.
We'll let you in.
You betcha. You bet. That's great. Yeah. So that's so that multi-point inspection is going to be job 1. And then if, red flag comes up, you get an opportunity to discuss that with the car owner and see, what
we can come up with some solutions for you.
Yes, right. Depending upon the severity of what's been discovered. And some of them are just very minor. Most things are minor. They just need to be addressed, Yep.
And I've been on many trips before as a young boy, as a young parent. And even today, when we went on vacation, you'll see cars on the side of the road. I'm going to tell you, most of the reasons they're on the side of the road is for overheating.
Yeah.
It's always overheating.
Yeah.
It always is. Or a dead battery. Battery dies on you.
Right.
You've been driving for, say, 3 or 4 hours and you stop for a snack.
Yeah.
Maybe a good place to go is Waffle House. Good place to go. They have good food. In fact, we stopped there and I enjoyed it. I had fresh made waffles.
All right. Very good.
You go out to start your car and it doesn't start again. Then what happens? You got dead battery. And a lot of times it's just the battery. And, at Crown Car Care, we can test that battery to give you a good snapshot of what life is left in your battery. And we'll be able to advise you that maybe it's not a bad idea to get a new battery.
Right. Yeah.
A little bit of prevention before you go on your trip.
Yeah.
Saves you so much frustration.
You bet. You bet. So that's critical because if you have an issue with your battery and you're in town and you're just doing around town driving, well, it's inconvenient, but it can get remedied without too much difficulty, right?
That's correct.
So
and get your air conditioning looked at beforehand,
right?
Because it might just be maybe you need a top charge of air conditioning Freon. Maybe you just need a shot of Freon. Maybe you need just a sensor. Maybe you need a new valve on the Schrader valve. Maybe there's a slow leak. But it's better to get it taken care of now with a place that you can trust than having it being repaired or remedied when you're out of town. Because now you're in no man's land. You don't know where you're at. You don't know who you're going to. and it can become very, very frustrating.
You bet.
Or you could do like Frank and I did, just roll your windows down.
That's the way I grew
That's what
up.
I'm used to.
40 with the windows down. That's Detroit air
40
conditioning.
with the windows down is just like max air.
That's it.
Well,
No,
not
not
quite.
really.
Not quite.
But
Not quite.
it'll work. Yes. But yeah, in Florida, it's air conditioning is a must.
It's a must.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When I was going to say I was in first or second grade, my parents had bought a brand new Ford station wagon, Country Squire, black with the paneling.
Yes.
Maroon interior.
Yes.
It had that third row seat, for us to sit in the back.
You bet.
I had two sisters and myself.
Mm-hmm.
And we had gone up to see the locks up in New York, Canada, right on the edge there. I think it would be the St. Lawrence Seaway?
Mm-hmm. Sure is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we had gone up there, and to get there, you had to go through. We went to a fort called Ticonderoga.
Ticonderoga.
Famous fort.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember after going to that fort
Mm-hmm.
and heading up to the locks, we were in a mountain pass.
Mm-hmm.
And this brand new Ford LTD through an alternator belt.
Oh.
Okay.
Whoa.
Now the year is 1971.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's no telephone.
No
There's
cell
nothing.
phones.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
No computers. There's nothing.
Yeah.
So how we did it was we were on the side of the road. I think we waited there about a half hour.
Mm-hmm.
And a maintenance truck that was, cutting grass and things on the side of the road. They had a two-way radio. And I kid you not, they called in and they had a belt and a service person come and put that belt on that car. And we were on our way within an hour and a half.
Wow. That is
Brand new vehicle. This is a brand new vehicle.
Sure. And it happens. Yeah.
What I'm trying to make on this story is
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter what year your vehicle is. It doesn't matter how many miles your vehicle has.
Mm-hmm.
Get it looked at before you go on vacation.
Yep.
Because you can prevent a lot of bad things from happening.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Another topic we haven't talked about is tires.
Yes. Yes.
And Frank, tires are important.
Yep. If you see a blem on your tire, sometimes it's on the passenger side and you only approach the car from the driver's side, you're not going to know about the something going on with the sidewall.
Frank, recently, several months ago, you had a tire
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't that old,
right?
Didn't have that many miles on it, and you had a spot on the side of the tire that was popping out. Remember?
Yeah, I sure do. Yeah.
It's important. You got to get these things looked
Mm-hmm.
at because, yes, you as the vehicle owner can be astute, can be aware, can look, but I'm telling you, get a second look. It's that important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Come in for an oil change at one of our locations. Phone number is 772-781-8000. I think I've said that 1,000 times, and it rolls off the tongue. 772-781-8000. It's a great phone number.
It is.
And in fact, one of our shops will answer. We'll set up an appointment for you. We'll get your vehicle in, and let's change your oil.
Yeah.
Let's rotate your tires. Let's do a safety inspection. Let's do a vacation inspection.
Yeah.
Let's do a battery test. Let's do an air conditioning check. Let's do a belt check. Let's do a hose check. Let's check your cooling system. And don't forget, bring your coolers in filled with all the snacks and drinks that you're going to do, and we'll do a snack.
We'll do a snack inspection. Yes.
That's right.
Yes. Yes. I think that's a wonderful idea,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
and then it'll keep us cooled off and fed at the shops.
So at Christmas time, and of course, you and I know this, from our experience with Santa, right? At Christmas time, you always have to leave milk and cookies for Santa. But for the reindeer, you got to leave carrots, something for them to snack on. So it's just like Christmas, you just got to treat, everybody with kindness, as you approach all the different things in life. So, yes.
And I can tell you that listen, whether I provide the service at Crown Car Care or we provide the service at Crown Car Care, and look at your vehicle. If you have a service provider or you yourself look at it, just because it looks okay and you think it's okay doesn't always mean it's okay.
That's right.
And you start driving 1,000 miles and you're driving for 6-8 hours at a time where your car's never done that since the last vacation. Very few people drive 6 to 8 hours straight.
Right. Yeah.
That's when a problem is going to surface.
You bet. Yeah.
And it could be a tire blowout. It could be an overheat condition. Yeah. I'll give you a tip too. It's not a bad idea to have your thermostat replaced just from a maintenance standpoint. I'm telling you, they stick. And if they stick, they could stick closed and overheat your vehicle. There's so many little things that you can do on your vehicle that can prevent so many things from happening.
Right.
On your vacation, I can't even go over the list because every car is different.
Right.
Every car has characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
Look at your air conditioning.
Yeah.
We'll look at it. We'll check it. We'll put a thermometer in there and check the output discharge temperature of your vents.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the temperature and the humidity of the air, there is a set outlet temperature that it should be. If it's not the right temperature, we can hook some gauges up to it and see if it's low. We can weigh the freon. We can check the functionality of it from a computer standpoint and scan it. We can scan your entire vehicle, hooking up through what they call the DLC connector underneath the dashboard of your vehicle, usually on the driver's side. We can scan it, see if there's any codes in there starting to surface. How important is it? It's that important.
Yeah.
Because I know all the young families that go on vacation in the store in our listening area do not want to be on the side of the road.
No.
Crown Car Care does not have a towing service.
No.
Crown Car Care does not have a service outside of Martin County.
That's right.
We can give you good advice,
Mm-hmm.
but you're kind of on your own.
Yeah.
Once you leave my area.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why if something can be prevented, it should be prevented.
Right.
And a lot of times it's not that expensive from a money standpoint.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Why don't we take a break, Frank, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about tires.
All righty. I'm liking it. All right. Stick with us. We have much more to cover when we return.
Is Max still at the gym? What should I talk about, Tara?
You should talk about
All right. We are back.
We're back.
We are indeed. You're listening to the Crown Car Care Show with Todd Harris. And Todd's out on assignment right now up in North Carolina.
Yeah, we're sniffing out new cars out here in Highlands, North Carolina.
Nice. Very good. And, also we should mention to our listeners that Todd has an outstanding, not a good, but an outstanding website. And you can find him at crowncarcare.net. And that is a worthwhile opportunity for you to kind of just browse his website and then see all the different services and the vehicles and the coupons and financing and reviews. And it's just wonderful pieces of information that'll make your car repair experience, enjoyable. So,
and check our reviews out on the internet. In fact, we now, when a customer comes in and visits us, they always get a review after, and those reviews get posted on, I believe it's Google Business Reviews.
Okay.
So you can check current ones.
Yeah.
Up to a week or two from today.
Yeah.
In the past, you can see what we're all about.
Yes.
Total transparency.
Right.
Everything is openly discussed. Price, options, choices.
Yeah.
Because as you know, Frank, there's choices.
You bet.
I'm going to give you an example. Tires. There are so many different tires out there, and so many different choices and price points. But I'm going to tell you, though, some of the cars, if you own something like from, say, 2020 upwards, many times your choices become more limited.
Yes, I was just going to use that word, limited. Yes, indeed.
They're limited, and it's because cars today use bigger rims. They have low-profile tires. They're high-speed tires, depending on the type of vehicle you buy.
Right.
And your good old-fashioned plain Jane tires are starting to go down the wayside.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
they
are.
Yeah.
They're just you're getting less and less choice, and more and more you have choices in brands.
Right.
But you don't have much choices in terms of types of tires.
Configurations, right.
You don't.
Yeah.
And a lot, there always used to be good, better, best.
Right.
I'm finding now there's better and best.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Your good are falling by the wayside.
And I think it's just like, of course, my life experience is mostly with the paint industry, but the thing about it is, even in paint products, anything there's chemistry involved, in tires are chemistry. And when you go, the difference between good and making a grade up to better is negligible, and the yield is much greater. So it's actually a poorer value to select the good when the better is the best, maybe the best result for you.
Yes, it's the same. Just like with paint. And I'm going to tell you, here's a question for everyone out there. What's the best way to ensure that you get the longest life out of your tires?
Keep them well inflated and rotated. As
well as a good alignment.
Yes.
And we can do a good alignment. Both of my shops have the same exact Hunter front end machine. It's all done with lasers. It's all the highest quality. In fact, my two alignment machines are the best that Hunter sells, because we at Crown Car Care feel it's that important to have good equipment, especially with an alignment.
Well, that's your contact to the road, so everything has to be right.
But not only does it ensure safety, proper contact patch, proper steering, but it also ensures proper wear. A poor alignment, or in a car out of alignment, you can cut your tire life in half.
Yeah.
Or more. Or more. It's that important.
Yeah.
And you've seen it. Your cars, for example, Frank has always serviced all of his vehicles at our shop, and he gets good long life out of his tire wear.
I do.
Tire wear perspective. You do.
Yep. Like the tires I bought for my wife's car. It was just a couple of years ago. And and so we're looking at the price of tires, and you came up with a brand of tires that was made a better price point for me, but I didn't have to sacrifice any quality. And so that was good. Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story about our vacation. We always like to look at your vehicle a couple weeks before you go on vacation. Well, my wife drives a Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Nice.
And a problem came up.
Oh, no.
Yep. And what happened was in the process of fixing it, one of the modules went bad, and we didn't have enough time to get it fixed. So guess what we had to do? We had to rent a car.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to risk doing a hasty, quick repair that could potentially jeopardize the safety, well-being, and happiness of our vacation.
Correct.
Right? For many people, we take a vacation. We try to take a vacation once a year. I haven't taken a vacation in 2 years, so it was that important for us to take a family vacation.
You bet.
So it was more important for me to rent a vehicle than it was to scramble,
do a hasty repair,
and ruin a vacation, and really would end up costing you way more money because you'd have to get it repaired outside of that local realm of Crown Car Care.
Right.
Like I say, we have two shops. We have a shop in Palm City and we have a shop at Cove Road.
Yep.
We don't have a shop in Orlando.
No.
We don't have a shop in Georgia. We don't have a shop in Highland.
No.
I could probably find you a good shop, but it's not Crown Car Care.
Exactly right.
That's right.
So
and I know, Frank, you're limited on your service calls. So I don't know. You wouldn't want to run a part up to Georgia, would you?
No. A little bit limited. Yeah, that's true.
So the tip is,
yeah,
at least 2 weeks before you go on vacation, maybe I'd say 3, bring your car into one of our locations.
Right. Especially if parts have to be ordered, that sort of thing.
First, let's do a safety inspection. Let's check any conditions that you feel aren't right.
Yeah.
If your air conditioning isn't quite up to snuff, let's get it looked at. In fact, we were just talking today, Frank, that your air conditioning on your vehicle has
given up the ghost.
Has maybe glitched.
Yeah. So, it's probably a minor leak, and, so, I'm not too concerned, but it's just, I'm going old school. So windows down at 40. So that's going to be my thing until I can get it into your shop. And
absolutely. And usually when there's a tipping point that happens with air conditioning, let's say you have a slow leak that is negligible, but you need Freon added to it to get it up to sun. There's a point when you get to the tipping point where your air conditioning isn't going to work, but right before that tipping point, it still blows cool.
It does.
Okay. And there's a tipping point, and you still probably have Freon still in your vehicle.
Probably. Yeah.
But it's at that tipping point where it's gotten low enough where it won't function at all.
Right.
And it can happen that fast. And that's the point I'm trying to make about the vacation.
Yes.
If you're taking a family vacation this summer, get your air conditioning looked at.
Yeah.
Get your tires looked at.
Yeah.
Get your oil changed. Get all the fluids looked at. Get the belts looked at. And let's not forget that cabin air filter.
Yeah. Very important.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very important, especially when you're going to have, let's say you have a family of 4 or 5. You want to have good filtered air inside that cabin.
And if there's a family dog involved, even more so.
Yes. Yes. Especially if you're going to be having all kinds of sodas and foods in that cooler that we'll, like I say, if you come by Crown Car Care and bring that cooler by, that you're going to put all your foods and drinks in, we'll come by and check it out. We'll tell you if it works or not.
Well, let me ask you this question. If you have a Winnebago and you tow a car behind you, right?
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
Now you're going on vacation with your towed vehicle. What kind of preparation do you need to do for both vehicles, and how do you service the vehicle that's in tow to make sure it's spinning properly, and all those?
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's just say you've done it before, and the equipment is there. You have it's called a tow bar. You have the hitch, but it's summer again, and you're getting ready to take your Winnebago or RV, and you're going to tow behind your vehicle. Well, the first thing you need to check for is you need to make sure the tow bar and the hitch and how it hooks up the car to the RV or the Winnebago is safe and functional and lubricated.
Yeah.
Usually there's pivot points that need to be lubricated with grease. that are important. You need
Yeah.
to check to make sure the safety pins are all functional, to make sure the nuts and bolts are tight on the hitch. That is number one.
Mm-hmm.
Because why? Because that's what's connecting that vehicle in tow to your vehicle that you're driving,
Right.
the RV.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The second thing you need to check is how are you going to get that car in tow, their lights or the lights on that vehicle to work in synchronicity or pairing to the lights on the RV.
Correct. So turn indicators, brake lights, that sort of thing.
And running lights.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. In fact, it's
mandatory.
law that it's mandatory that you have to have that.
Right.
And that's usually just like a boat trailer or a boat or a small motorcycle trailer that you would have in tow on your vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
There's a plug that plugs into the Winnebago or the RV that connects the lighting on the car or the vehicle in tow to the one that's doing the towing.
Mm-hmm.
And those lights all need to work.
You bet.
And if they don't work, you don't want to find that out the day of the trip, do you?
Or you don't want somebody rolling up behind you with the lights and sirens, asking you to pull over because they're not happy with how your vehicle's not
correct.
meeting up to standards.
Now, the next thing that you need to look at or make sure it's all functional is when you put a vehicle in tow, that vehicle has to be in neutral so it spins, but it also has to be done in a safe manner that doesn't damage anything on that vehicle.
Exactly right.
And just because you put it in neutral doesn't mean it's okay.
No, a lot of people
In
think
fact,
so.
Many vehicles have to have the computers programmed so that they can go into a tow mode.
See that?
Everyone hearing that out there?
Yeah.
If you're putting a vehicle in tow and those wheels are on the ground spinning when you're pulling it behind your Winnebago, many times that system that's on that car has to be programmed to allow you to put it in neutral and not damage anything.
Right.
Back in the old days, you take the drive shaft undone. You unhook the drive shaft.
Yep.
Right. Today, that's generally not done, but it still comes into play if it's an older vehicle.
Sure.
Many times you take the drive shaft out and put a plug in the back of the transmission, put the drive shaft in the Winnebago or on the underneath. That way the car is being pulled or towed without anything other than the wheels spinning.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's most important. You don't want to damage that. Can you imagine hooking your vehicle up behind your Winnebago? You head up to Highlands, North Carolina. You undo your vehicle and the transmission's burned up.
Yeah.
What would you do?
Yeah, you're out of luck. You can't run to the 7-Eleven. Yeah, that's for you.
You wish you had listened to the Crown Car Care radio hours weeks before to get it looked at.
You bet.
Can we at Crown Car Care help you with something like that? Absolutely.
See that?
Absolutely.
Very
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. And at the very least, we can give you great advice.
Mm-hmm.
At the very most, we can get you set up so it all works.
There you go.
Or somewhere in the middle. We're going to help you out.
We're going to take
when you tow a vehicle,
yeah,
you're going to have what? The lights need to be operational.
Yes.
The hitch needs to be functional and safe. The vehicle needs to be in some neutral or tow mode.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Those front wheels need to be locked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people will put them on a tow dolly, which locks them front wheels down.
Right.
But if not, you got to make sure that those wheels aren't turning, because if you go around a corner, it's going to go haywire.
Mm-hmm.
Or the car could jackknife while driving down the road.
Yeah. Not a pretty picture. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
Why don't we take it? We'll take another break and then we'll come back and finish it up.
Outstanding. All right. Stick with us.
Do it.
We'll be right back.
Hi.
We are back. And Todd.
Well, hello there.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey, do we have time to do a Buick Fauci minute?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do the Buick Fauci thing.
Introducing the Buick Fauci with built-in GPS that's got you covered wherever you go.
Fauci, I'd like to drive to the bank.
That's a good reason for a mask. Other GPS systems make driving predictable, but when it comes to giving directions, the Fauci can't make up its mind.
Fauci, take me to Macy's.
I don't think we have enough information to do that, quite honestly.
Driving in bad weather is never an issue because the Fauci doesn't follow the science. It follows the teachers' unions.
Fauci, I need to drop my kid off at school.
I totally disagree with you.
The Buick Fauci, the car that's been locking down the competition for over a year.
Fauci, can you show me how to get to the theater?
Here we go again with the theater. Let's get down to the facts.
So
now, I've heard that those vehicles have cabin ventilation problems.
Oh, it could very well be. Not enough outgassing, right?
But yeah. Well, I've heard they've got about 30 filters, and what happens is the system gets all plugged up.
I would guess so. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a good looking car. It looks like a mask. And it's got a big long hood, with a big nose on it.
Oh, I like it. Yes.
And so the Buick Fauci, and it's just a wonderful car. They're fairly reasonable. In fact, I've heard that there's stockpiles of inventory.
There might be. I love it.
Oh, speaking of inventory, Frank,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of these manufacturers have got quite a bit of inventory. So if you're looking for a new car, now's not a bad time to look.
Yes. Yeah, because they want to get ahead of the curve for the various fees that are being charged, right?
Yes. And there's some, the new model year will be coming out, and there's a lot of turmoil, so to speak, in that in the auto industry. Not in my industry, the repair side, but more in the new model, new product side.
Right.
A lot of interesting stuff coming down the pike.
Yeah. So speaking of your industry, a little bit of information for our Mustang owners. If you've got a Mustang EV that you ordered, well, it's been recalled. In fact, there's 300,000 Mustang EVs that are scheduled to be updated for the software bug that. So here's the problem. If your battery dies for some reason and you happen to be inside the vehicle, well, you can't open the door.
So
that could be a problem. So, and it's a software issue that they said the patch will be coming out soon.
That's interesting.
So yeah. So
we've been over the years. You and I, Frank, have been big proponents of Teslas. I can say on Teslas now, they do have a mechanical emergency handle to open the doors from the inside at all times.
Smart. Yeah. Redundancy. You got to have it.
Absolutely. Got to have it, especially on electric vehicles.
Yeah. And Honda's recalling 259,000 vehicles in the U.S. for defective brake pedals. Not brakes, but the pedals.
The pin isn't seated properly and the pin falls out.
Oh. So
the pivot pin. Okay, there's a pivot pin. I know about this recall. And it's a quick check. Not many of them have it, but what they do is I think they do a safety inspection and secure that pin so it can't come out.
All right. So
that's a easy, quick fix. And I believe there's another one out there with, I'm not sure who it is, with some brake, the lights in reverse. I think it's Ford. Rangers or something that have lights. You know what, Frank, I've noticed? I don't know if it's me. Seems to be a lot of recalls lately.
Yeah. Yeah, but some of the, recalls, some of the things that are listed as recalls aren't recalls in the manner where you have to take it to the dealer. For example, Tesla's got a lot of technical recalls where the car never leaves your driveway, but it gets repaired over the air. So, but those are technically, they're listed as recalls.
And the other is many recalls or inspections, we're seeing it because there's better communication.
Yes.
better communication. There's better systems in place that are catching this. So it's looking like there's more defective vehicles, but in reality, we're catching things as a society faster and quicker before it becomes a problem.
Correct. And because the technology for tracking these things is much more efficient, I think is a big
Absolutely.
part
Back
of
in
it.
the 60s and 70s, when we were talking about in the beginning of our show with that fan belt that came off on my parents' car, recalls were very rare. And if they were, it took months, maybe in a year to even get them out.
Right. Right.
Now you're seeing recalls in real time.
Right.
Which is to the benefit of the consumer, but it also, if you don't understand that, it can give black eyes to these manufacturers when in reality they shouldn't be having them, right?
Right. Exactly right. The Fed is also leaving interest rates unchanged for the maintaining pattern for the existing pattern for 2025. So sales of new cars and used cars are going to, move along at the current rates. They're not expecting any bump or any changes because of the interest rates are.
So you could get a good deal. If you're looking to buy a car, it could be an opportunity to make a good deal.
Indeed.
Right. If you're in the market for a vehicle and cars aren't selling that great, you might be in the driver's seat on that one. You can make a deal.
Yep.
There's plenty of deals to be had.
Yes.
In fact, as long as we've been talking about Teslas over the years, poor Tesla has been getting beat up lately.
Yeah.
But time for deals.
Right. Yep.
Remember, you and I, Frank, went and drove that Cybertruck. In fact, we did more than drive. We took it off road.
We did.
Right past some police cars.
They were more than police cars. They were sheriff deputies, but they didn't seem to mind.
They let us go by because, like we said, we told them we were, with a radio show, and we were doing a thorough testing of these Cybertrucks.
And we were.
We were spinning in circles in the dirt.
Yes, it was delightful. It was delightful.
It was right next to the delership too. It was great.
Yes.
But that was the proving ground.
It is now.
Yeah. So was the curb going into McDonald's.
Yeah. Well, that's the marvelous thing about the Cybertruck. The wheels are so huge. They are. A curb is less than a speed bump to those tires.
It is. The only thing that concerns me is I have a feeling those specially made tires are very expensive.
I bet so. Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Before the show ends, I'm going to tell everybody about a great little short stop you can make up in Orlando.
Okay.
Okay. In Orlando, there is a thing. It's at Deezerland. Everyone remember this: DEZERLAND.
All right.
It's a gigantic entertainment mecca complex.
Okay.
There is a place there called the Orlando Auto Museum.
Okay.
And remember, in the beginning of the show, we talked about stopping at places that are possibly educational at the same time off the beaten track.
Right.
This Orlando Auto Museum is one of the largest in the world, actually. It has 2,000 plus vehicles valued at over $200 million.
Wow.
And it has 20 themed rooms. I've been there.
Wow. Nice.
20 themed rooms. I'm going to give you a preview of some of them. They have one that's the Bat Cave.
Okay, cool.
It has real Batmobiles from the 60s show. Cars of the Stars. It has a Bond museum. It has the world's largest collection of James Bond movie cars. There is a Gatsby Lounge with Gatsby area cars from the Roaring 20s.
Right.
There is, I'm looking at here, there's Cars of Europe, Cars of France, Cars of Israel. Wow. There is the Thunderbird Lounge featuring Thunderbirds. There's Hot Rods. There's the Chrysler Lounge. There's the Vespa Lounge. There's the Harley Motorcycle Lounge. There's the Buckingham Palace Lounge. There's Microcar Lounge. There's a Motorized Bike Lounge. There's a Duesenberg Lounge. There is a Main Street USA Lounge. And this is only just the tip of the iceberg. And it is one neat place. It's all indoors, air conditioning. And I'll tell you, if you want to take your family to something really fun and cool and very inexpensive to go in, I don't know, $20-some a person, which in today's world is very, very inexpensive.
Right.
Go there. In fact, I guarantee you, if you took your family there, there'd be as much or more talk about it as there would be going to Disneyland.
Yeah.
I kid you not. It's that fascinating.
Nice.
And it's about cars, and that's what this show's about. So
You
I had to
bet.
give a bump for it.
You
Right?
bet. I love the Batmobile. That was a what kind of engine was that? Do you know?
I believe it was a El Camino to start with, and it was a Chevrolet, I believe. Now,
Yeah.
not the original Batmobile.
No.
Now, the original Batmobile was a Ford Futura from
Yes.
the 50s. It was a prototype car.
Mhm.
But the one that we know from Adam
And
West, I believe it is.
mhm.
Yeah, that was actually a Ford, I believe. Or no, a Chevy. It was a Chevy El Camino. I
Yeah.
believe so.
And then they used so it was the turbine. It was actually a turbine powered.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Burn all kinds
So
of
they
fuels.
have one of those there. So go
Yes.
there. Deezerland, the Orlando Car Museum.
Right.
Great stop on your vacation.
And give Todd a call.
But your first stop is Crown Car Care.
Yes, 781-8000, and have a great summer trip. All
Hey,
right.
Frank, and I'll get with you tomorrow about your air conditioning.
Okay, buddy. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care.
All
Bye-bye.
right, bye. All right. Yep. And again, give Todd a call, 781-8000, or you can go to his website at crowncarcare.net. And we'll be back again next week.